Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel today. I'm bringing you one of the most emotional stories you'll ever hear. A story about kindness, silence, secrets, and the unexpected power of a single moment that changed everything. It all begins in a small family-owned restaurant tucked away between a flower shop and a laundromat. The kind of place where regulars ordered the same thing every morning, and newcomers instantly feel at home. The place wasn't fancy, but it carried a warmth that made people keep coming back. And in the middle of that warmth was a shy young waitress named Lily. Lily was quiet, soft-spoken, and moved through the diner like a gentle breeze. She had worked there for almost 2 years, and though everyone loved her sweet nature, very few people knew much about her. She never talked about her past. She never made a scene. She never asked for anything. She simply did her job. With a warm smile and a heart big enough to light up the entire room, and it was that heart that led her into a moment no one expected. One busy afternoon, the diner's bell rang, and in walked an impeccably dressed, older woman. She looked elegant, poised, and a little lost at the same time. She moved slowly, her eyes scanning the room. Not in curiosity, but searching for something deeper. Lily approached her with her usual soft smile, menu in hand, but the woman didn't respond. She just looked at Lily blankly. Lily tried again, but this time she noticed something the woman wasn't ignoring her. She just wasn't hearing her at all. She was deaf. Lily's eyes softened. Immediately she gently touched the woman's arm, got her attention, and with slow, careful movements, she began using sign language. The older woman's eyes widened. For a moment, it was as if someone had just handed her a lifeline after hours of struggling alone. She signed back a simple thank you, and Lily signed "You're welcome." The exchange was brief, quiet, and almost invisible to everyone around them, but that moment set off a chain of events no one could ever have imagined, because in the far corner of the diner, someone else had been watching. A young man, maybe in his early 30s, tall, sharp-jawed, in a tailored suit that made him look like he'd walked straight out of a business magazine. He had come in for a casual lunch, but what he saw was anything but casual. He had watched as his mother, the elegant woman who had walked in looking lost, began smiling for the first time in days, and he had watched Lily, the shy waitress everyone overlooked, come alive in a way he had never seen. He stood up and approached them. Slowly, his eyes fixed on Lily, but his mother was the first to react. She touched his hand, looked up at him, and signed quickly. Tears forming in her eyes, Lily stepped back, unsure of what she had stepped into. The young man then looked at her and said softly, "You signed to her." Lily nodded, a bit embarrassed. "I didn't mean to overstep. I just noticed she was having trouble understanding me." He smiled, a smile so full of emotion it nearly knocked the wind out of her. "You didn't overstep. You might have just given her the best moment she's had in months." Lily didn't understand, but before she could ask anything, the man introduced himself. His name was Ethan, and his mother's name was Margaret. She was profoundly deaf, he explained. Marginally able to read lips, but lately isolated from the world due to her declining health and recent battles with loneliness and depression. Lily felt her heart ache for the older woman. Ethan went on to explain that despite all his money and resources, nothing he had tried had worked. Not the best therapists, not the most expensive hearing assistants, technology, nothing had made her smile. But Lily, signing to her, had for the first time in months. Margaret felt understood, seen, connected. Lily swallowed hard, overwhelmed by the weight of his words. Ethan thanked her again, asked if he could sit with them, and the three of them spent the next 40 minutes in a quiet, simple conversation, conducted half with hands, half with gestures, and half with patient, heartfelt understanding. When Margaret left, she squeezed Lily's hands tightly and signed something that made Ethan pause. "She likes you," he translated, and Lily's face flushed pink. Ethan followed his mother out, but not before turning back and leaving a business card in Lily's hand. He said, "If you ever need anything, call me," and then he left. Lily looked down at the card, and her breath caught in her throat. Ethan wasn't just a well-dressed man in a fancy suit. He was a billionaire, founder of a global tech company, a man whose every move made headlines. And Lily, well, Lily was a shy waitress who could barely afford rent, but she folded the card, put it in her apron, and returned to her shift as if nothing remarkable had happened. Except something remarkable had happened, because the next morning, the door to the diner flew open again, and Ethan walked in, this time alone, this time looking determined. He waited until Lily finished taking an order, then approached her table and said, "My mom won't stop talking about you, while signing about you. She asked if you could meet her again." Lily blinked, confused, surprised, flattered, and nervous. Ethan gave her a soft smile. "Don't worry. I'm not here to pressure you. She just felt safe with you, and that means everything to me." Lily thought for a moment, then nodded. She agreed to meet Margaret after her shift, and that decision led to a friendship she never expected. Lily began visiting Margaret twice a week, sometimes just to talk, sometimes to sign poetry or stories, sometimes to help her practice new signing techniques, sometimes just to sit together in comfortable silence. But the more time they spent together, the more Ethan watched from the doorway, silently amazed by the peace Lily brought to his mother's life, and the more he watched, the more he found himself drawn to Lily too. Her quiet strength, her softness, her kindness, her unspoken intelligence. Ethan learned that Lily had grown up with a deaf aunt who had practically raised her, teaching her sign language from childhood teaching, her patience, presence, and compassion. Lily learned that Ethan was a man burdened by the noise of the world, constant pressure, endless responsibilities, a life lived in headlines, but never truly lived in peace with her. He found peace with him, she found protection, acceptance, and a strange pull she couldn't explain. Weeks went by, and their connection grew stronger, unspoken but undeniable, until one evening, Margaret asked Lily to stay a little longer. Ethan had already left for a business call, and Lily was helping Margaret organize some old photographs, but Margaret suddenly signed something that made Lily freeze. She signed, "He likes you." Lily shook her head. Embarrassed, flustered, "No, he doesn't. He's just kind." Margaret smiled, a knowing mother's smile, and signed again. "He looks at you like you are the first quiet in his life." Lily didn't know what to say. Her heart pounded, and Margaret reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. Then she began signing something slowly, carefully, deliberately, and when Lily finally understood the meaning, tears filled her eyes. Margaret was asking her to stay in their life, not just as a friend, but as someone important. Someone family. But before Lily could respond, the door opened and Ethan returned. He froze, seeing Lily's tear-filled eyes, and his mother's hands resting over hers. He approached slowly, worried, but Margaret simply patted his hand and walked out of the room, leaving the two of them alone. Ethan sat beside Lily and asked quietly, "Did she say something to upset you?" Lily shook her head, wiped her tears, and said, "No, she said something beautiful." Ethan seemed relieved, but curious. "What did she say?" Lily hesitated, looked at him and whispered, "She said you look at me like I'm the first quiet in your life." Ethan's breath caught, and he stared at her as if she had just spoken a truth. He hadn't been brave enough to admit a truth he didn't know she had seen, and then without warning, without hesitation, he told her the truth. He said that from the moment she signed to his mother, something in him shifted. He told her he had never met someone who could make the world feel softer, quieter, kinder. Just by being in the room, he told her he didn't care that she was a waitress or that he was a billionaire. He cared that she was Lily, the girl who gave his mother hope, the girl who made him breathe easier, the girl he hadn't been able to stop thinking about. And then he asked her the question that silenced the entire room. He asked Lily, "Would you stay in our lives, not out of obligation, not out of kindness, but because you want to?" Lily stared at him, her heart racing, her throat burning with emotion, and then softly, like a falling feather, she whispered, "Yes, yes, I want to." Ethan pulled her into a gentle embrace, one that felt like home, and for the first time since they met, Lily didn't feel shy. She just felt seen, valued, loved. The story didn't end there. In fact, it was only the beginning. Lily became a constant presence in Margaret's life, guiding her, helping her, teaching her, connecting her to a world that had once grown distant. And Ethan, he fell more and more in love with the woman who had brought silence and meaning into his loud, chaotic billionaire world. People around them began to notice the change. Margaret laughing again, Ethan smiling, genuinely, Lily glowing with newfound confidence. They started taking trips together, dinners, quiet walks through gardens where Ethan and Lily would talk about everything and nothing, sometimes using words, sometimes using signs, sometimes not needing either one. But the moment that left everyone in tears came months later. During a small family gathering, Margaret stood up, walked to the front of the room, and signed something slowly, emotionally, deliberately, and Lily translated, her voice trembling. She signed that she had spent years feeling alone in silence, and that Lily had given her back the world. She signed that her son had spent years drowning in noise, and Lily had given him peace. She signed that families are not made by blood or money, but by hearts that understand each other. And then she signed her final message, the one that brought the entire room to tears. She signed, "Welcome to the family, Lily." Lily broke into tears. Ethan wrapped his arms around her. Margaret hugged them both, and in that moment, a shy waitress, a lonely, deaf mother, and a billionaire searching for meaning became something none of them expected. They became a family, and it all started with kindness, a single moment, a signed word. So that's the story for today, a reminder that the smallest actions can change the biggest lives. If you enjoyed this emotional journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more stories that touch the heart. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.